You were just up our way recently at the Dandy Ranges Folk Festival, is that right?
Yeah, good little weekend, yeah. We just, Tiff and I came up and did some solo shows, and it was great.
They did a little bit differently up there, I believe, this year.
Yeah, streamlined it, you might say, rationalised it, you might say, cut it right down. But it was really good. Nice to have it indoors, for one thing, given the weather for the last few years up there has been radical for the festival.
Yeah.
And also, it was just a tight little weekend sort of thing, small program, and everything was really good. It was great.
It went well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear that. Now, let's talk about the new album. It's called Been on This Road Too Long. Does it feel that way sometimes?
Oh, yeah, it does, mate. Yeah, yeah it does. I guess it's really only now that I've really sort of stopped the heavy touring that I've realised how hard it was. I really enjoy my time at home these days, yeah.
Was there a pre-plan for this album? Did you know what you wanted to achieve before you went in there?
Yeah, kind of. In a musical sense, I did. I wanted to just make a pretty straight-ahead record that was about the band as it was at the time, and it's, basically a blues band that does a few of my songs, and as well. So that's really what the record's about. It's a bit of a document more than anything else.
Yeah.
Also, a chance to do some stuff that I really like to do, but as a solo singer-songwriter, you don't really get, you've got to be a little bit careful about what you do or you start to think so. So this is just me really having fun, I think. It's a serious record, but a lot of it's just done for the joy of it more than anything else, yeah.
You've certainly been getting deeper and deeper into that blues vein over the past few years. Do you see yourself getting further into that realm from now on?
It's always been a strong influence in my head, I guess, and I'm letting that come out more. I don't see myself as a purist in any sense, so I think it'll always be a bit mongrel what I do,
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the immediacy and the simplicity of vintage blues music, and that's really that's really the bit I'm borrowing. The rest of it, is just, you play slide guitar, you end up playing blues sooner or later, I guess,
Do you think there's a definitive Australian blues sound? Can you put your finger on something that distinguishes it from other parts of the world?
No, I couldn't really, not directly, except in that in the classic adaptions of blues forms, like what Chain did with it, and what Phil Manning still does with it, in terms of sort of like original versions of blues songs, I guess. And there's a lot of people, the backsliders. It's not so much a sound as an attitude to, using it with due respect, but also making it our own, not sort of pretending that we're black cotton field workers from Mississippi,
Yeah. Now for those...
Something like that. I don't know.
No, that's not bad for after midnight.
Yeah, good.
That's pretty good. Now, for those who haven't seen the Welcome Wagon, tell us about the lineup and the background of the people there.
Okay, well, the lineup varies a little bit on the top end, but the bottom end's a three-piece, and it's John Parry on drums. He's a great drummer. He hails from St Arnaud, as a matter of fact, and lives in Geelong now. He's been playing since he was 6 years old, when his mother took him out to play old-time dances and stuff like that with her. She's just retired, so he's a strong musical background.
Yeah.
And he's just great. He's got that laid-back feel. He's a great shuffle player. He's completely fearless, hates rehearsal, suits me perfectly. And Sandy Brady on the bass. Sandy and I have been working together for a number of years now. She plays upright and electric bass, and she's been nearly 10 years, and she and I have done all kinds of shows, from big concert stages, just the two of us, to little bars and stuff, and she's just a great musician. She plays it simple and straightforward, and she's always on the money. She's never let me down. She's fantastic. Now, added to that a lot lately has been Tony Hargraves, who's a keyboard player from a band called the Whirling Furfies in Melbourne, and he also plays accordion. He's just a really old mate and a great field player, and he fits into the Welcome Wagon perfectly, sort of attitude-wise. Musically, he's a mongrel musician like we are, so he's real good,
So would this be the most comfortable lineup you've had in your time, do you think?
Yeah, I reckon. I think I'm getting better at bands. Not trying so hard, but just it's been nice, having been back at home down here for a number of years now, to sort of just settle into the scene and find the right people and let it grow organically, not try and force it in any way, just let it tick over and see what it wants to do, and shuffle it around a bit, you know. But Sandy and JP and I have become really solid in that way, and we've just taken our time with it, so it's pretty, well, it is pretty solid, I suppose that's what I'm saying. It's not fueled by ambition or, we're not putting up with each other, we actually really like each other. It's good. Yeah.
I guess
to do it. Takes longer though.
For sure. And for what is basically or essentially a three-piece, you've got still quite a full sound there. Is that something you're conscious of wanting to achieve?
Yeah. The three-piece thing, I think the full sound's about arrangement. I don't know what I should say there, but one of the great examples of it is actually Creedence, although they seem to be a four-piece band. A lot of it's just three, you know, one guitar, bass and drums, essentially. And it's really what the instruments do that makes it sound full. It doesn't really matter if it's a three-piece or a 10-piece. A 10-piece can sound thin too, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess the way I think about it and the way Sandy and JP play it, we don't really discuss it, but we know how to make it sound big, you know. So everyone plays together, that's the secret. You know.
Now, many times over the years, you've stepped into that sideman role and playing with people like Archie Roach and whatever.
Yep.
In what ways has that helped you as a performer for yourself and that, being able to take that time to step back from time to time?
Well, it's a very good question, John. I wish more people would ask me that because it's really important.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you've done that and then you front your own band, you know what you want very clearly and you know what to do, and it works both ways. I think, you know, as a singer-songwriter, I'm a good accompanist because I know what not to do, really. I know what not to, you know, I know what a singer-songwriter is going to want, you know, broadly speaking, in terms of how much playing and when and where to put the pressure on and where to back right off it and how to play the song rather than waiting for your solo all the time, sort of thing. So it's I reckon it's really good. It's a really good thing for any musician to do. Just change roles occasionally, get a feel for what the people you normally working with are thinking and expecting by doing it yourself, you know.
Now, your last CD before this one, there was an ARIA nomination there and a Blues Appreciation Award.
Yeah.
How do you rate that sort of recognition? Is that important to you?
Look, I can't say it doesn't make me feel good because it does, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not really that important in the scheme of things. I mean, in the ARIA thing really took me by surprise. I had no idea I was even nominated, you know. And the Blues Appreciation Society took me by surprise too because the song's not really a blues song. They just liked it and they were kind of... You do run in the blues scene, you do run into a certain amount of kind of purism, you know.
Yeah.
And these guys in Melbourne were nice enough to hear the song behind them, you know, to actually hear the song go, that's a great song, let's give it to this guy. You know? Rather than saying, well, it's not quite like how Robert Johnson did it or something like that, you know. So I mean, those things do mean something, but they don't drive you. Well, they drive me, not anymore anyway.
No.
You know?
Speaking of blues purism, you took on some great old standards on this record.
Didn't we, though?
How do you go about tackling songs like that, which I guess have been covered many times before, and some people would consider like sacred songs?
Yes, some people would consider sacred and some people would consider done to death. Basically, if they work, it's the criteria. I know it sounds like a bit of a comment, but it's actually, with the way our band works, I'll learn a song. If there's anything curly in it, I'll run it by Sandy a couple of times at her place one afternoon, you know, over a cup of tea, and then we'll just play it. We don't rehearse, you know, well, very rarely. And so this is as far as old blues songs go. So it generally gets a life of a trial period of 2 gigs or something. If it doesn't work, we just forget it. We don't try it again. So the things like Rolling and Tumbling and Backdoor Man, they're old songs that I like them as songs, you know. I think they're really good and they're really handy songs to have as a blues band, because a lot of what the Welcome Wagon is about is bread and butter, you know. We can actually play anywhere. It's a really good band that way, without compromising ourselves, without doing Running Bear. We can pretty much play anywhere, you know. So yeah, we grab songs and like I say, I'll learn them and we'll try them, and if they work, they're good. And if they don't, they're out. It's just like that. And there's been quite a few that haven't, you know. The standards like that really we don't there's certain styles we don't do as well as other styles, I guess.
So it's particularly important to stamp a song with your own identity in some way?
Well, we don't, yeah, I mean, that's right. It kind of happens anyway, unless you really concentrate very hard on copying Muddy Waters or something like that.
Yeah.
You will do it your own way, whether it's as good as or much worse or better or just different, I don't know, but that'll vary too. But I think there's a couple of small things in Rolling and Tumbling that we made a conscious effort to do. This is a bit technical, but the riffs are repeated 3 times instead of twice each time. Little things like that we'll just chuck in sometimes I just chuck them in to annoy Sandy, actually, to see what she'll do, you know. But they do give it a bit of a twist and, you know, give it a bit of our own flavour, I guess. But because we don't work hard and, you know, we don't sit down and analyse and work out what's going on in original versions, the versions we do have definitely got their own flavour, yeah.
And Morning Train made a reappearance also.
Yeah, I thought it was time that. We've been playing it a lot and it's been going over really well, and I thought the band version merited a bit of a rerun. Same with, what's the other one? I'm trying to think of the other old song on that record. Out of Sight, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
Out of Sight was on my second solo album about 100 years ago. And, I thought that wanted to have another life too, so...
So they've been nagging it away at you for a while, that there was always another way you wanted to tackle those songs?
A little bit was Out of Sight, but no, they were just songs that were there, and we tried them, you know, and they said, oh, that's good, we'll do that, you know. It's really like that. The Welcome Wagon doesn't work in a very conscious way. It works, just goes along on its own little path, and you throw things in there, and sometimes they sort of become part of what we're doing, sometimes they don't, you know. I mean, the actual song list that the Welcome Wagon has got is huge in terms of songs we've tried a few times and we could pull off if we really had to, you know what I mean?
Where was it all recorded, Dave?
In Geelong, a place called The Lockup, which is a shifted location actually, but still going as a studio. It's a great facility, a great engineer, Brian Cavanino, who's been very good to us in a lot of ways, but he's a perfectionist and he's great to work with, and his game, you know, we throw wild live recording scenes at him and he smiles and copes as best he can. And he's a great mixer and a great leveler for me too. It's important for me because I'm kind of producing my own stuff quite difficult. The subjectivity thing, you know, so I really value the input of an intelligent engineer, and that's certainly what Brian is. Yeah.
Now you're based not too far from there, down at Winchelsea, which is a lovely part of the world.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's cold. I'm out in the veranda at the moment, John. As a matter of fact, watching trying to watch the weather come in, trying to make it rain. So it hasn't been raining here. You've been getting all the rain up there.
No, we're still holding out for some here at the moment.
Oh, okay. No worries. I'm glad there's somewhere else in Victoria that's going round.
It is a lovely spot. I was actually just driving through there a few weeks back.
Oh, yeah.
Is it an inconvenience at times conducting your career away from the city?
It would be if I was still doing what I spent most of my musical career doing, staying up late in bars with other musicians talking bullshit, but that doesn't seem to be part of my life much anymore, so
right.
It's kind of good. I really like it. I mean, I grew up here, and it's a great community here in the broader sense, like the coast and the little towns in the hills here. A lot of my friends live around here now, and the distance from the city is good for me. Not for everyone, I don't think, but yeah. I find the drive home after a gig kind of relaxing, actually. Doesn't bother me at all, you know. And we've got a little daughter here, a 2.5-year-old, and it's sort of important to me that she has this childhood in the country.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite a musical community in that way, isn't it?
Oh, it's very rich, as a matter of fact, yeah. And a lot of support, there's a growing number of people putting on little concerts and opening little gigs, and I mean, there's only little stuff, you know, but there's house concerts, and even the restaurants on the coast are putting on original music in local stuff, you know. So it's kind of healthy in its own small way. It doesn't really support us, but they do their best, and very supportive people, you know.
Is there anything about the area in particular do you think that attracts musicians? I mean, I know you were there, you're from there originally yourself, but...
striking distance from Melbourne.
Yeah.
Apart from the apart from January, it's really quiet here a lot of the time. And after a while, as a musician, if you're not desperate to be in the scene in Melbourne, something like or in Sydney or in Brisbane or wherever, if you're not desperate to be seen all the time and to shake hands with a lot of people, then it actually makes a lot of sense to be out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter where you live, especially if you, like, it's probably especially true of touring musicians. Something I discovered with Archie and with the weddings was that the place where you left your spare socks doesn't really matter because you're not there that much anyway.
Yeah, you're really home, aren't you? Yeah.
So turn that into now, and it's sort of like, as my daughter gets older, I'm thinking that I should get back on the road a bit more than I have been, and I'm just glad it's here that I'll be coming home to, really.
Yeah. Well said. How are we going for distribution of the new record?
Still working on that, but we have a pretty firm offer at the moment, so we'll finalise that next couple of weeks, yeah. It's all looking good, mate. It's just a bit of a slow process, partly on account of the pace at which we move, which is just patiently and slowly, and partly because I've learned that there's no need to rush. It's better just to try and get each little brick in the wall in the right place as you go, and take your time. And it doesn't really matter when people hear the record, as long as they hear it. And with people like yourself and community radio, it's very accessible to us. Independent radio in general is, and the ABC is pretty supportive. So yeah, we just poke along quietly.
There's not like there's a peak period of time where you have to go out and flog the record to death.
Exactly. We're not fishing for the Christmas market here. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Has songwriting got easier in time?
No, harder.
Harder?
I'm writing less and less, as a matter of fact. I'm working on a few things at the moment, but it's I suppose, I like to think that it's because I'm fussier, more self-critical. But I think everything, I'm actually fairly settled now. I think that's put a break on a lot of songwriting.
Yeah.
So much angst in my life, and also I'm kind of busy. Like, I built a house here 2 years ago myself, and I've got this sort of vacant paddock, and I've got a lot of stuff to do. Sheds to build, and gardens to establish, and trees to plant, and fences to put in, and I haven't got any money, but so I have to work out all ways to do this as I go along. But it all takes up your kind of energy. And a lot of my energy in the last 2 or 3 years has been put into this and into my daughter.
So it's a case of like the songs will come when they come, sort of thing.
Yeah. There's a mate of mine in Melbourne, Alex Legg, his name is, singer-songwriter from the UK, who's living here now, very good. And I was sort of complaining to him that I hadn't written very many songs lately, And he said, it's a fallow field, Dave. You're an old farmer, you should know this. Just leave it lie until it's ready. They'll come up, and they do. It's very true. And the 2 or 3 that I have sort of nearly finished in the last month, actually pretty good and a bit special, I think. So I guess it's just, I do think you slow down though. I don't think, when you're hungry and you're a bit younger and you're being stimulated all the time, like you've got lots of new experiences and you've got lots of sort of, you're making your own life difficult, basically. You've got lots to write about.
Yeah.
I could write you 20 songs about what this place looks like at night and in the afternoon, and what's like on a frosty morning, what it's like in the heat of summer, but it'd be a bit boring, really. So I just wait for things that strike me to write about.
Is there a particular type of album or a style of album that you've always had a hankering to do that you'd like to get around to do one day?
It's probably heaps. I'm going to do a completely solo album in the relatively near future. Just me and the guitar.
Okay.
That's one thing I've always wanted to. I want to try and pull that off. And I don't know if you've heard this, John, but if you haven't, get a listen to it. John Martin's new CD.
Heard about it. I haven't actually heard it, no.
Oh, well, it's fantastic. It's a great blend of the incredibly raw and the sort of slick production, well, not exactly production, but arrangement kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I suppose because I spend a lot of time in the studio, I get quite fascinated with what you can do in the studio, without going deeply into the whole computer recording thing, just stretching boundaries a bit, So I guess there's probably a couple of records like that in me yet.
Okay.
They're a little bit more like produced records. They're for listening rather than for performance.
Right, yeah.
A little bit different from what I'm doing at the moment, you know. Most of the stuff I've done the last few years have been really performance-based recordings, you know. They're the sort of thing that I can reproduce on the stage easily enough, and they're really about the performance of the song. But there's a whole area of music there that's just about sound textures and grooves and things like that, you know.
Perfect. And just to wind up, Dave, what are your plans for the rest of the year musically?
The rest of the year? Well, the rest of this year is about the Welcome Wagon and this record, and as many festivals as we can sleaze ourselves onto, and just establishing that, I think, you know. As I say, it's been a little bit slow, you know, distribution's come a little bit slow, but we're nearly there now, and we're hoping to do some of the blues festivals in Narooma and the Wangaratta Blues Tent, maybe Gympie Muster in the blues tent there, Queenscliff, hopefully, you know.
There's been a real boom of festivals, hasn't there, in recent years?
Well, yeah. Well, it's essential for what we do, for what I do, I should say. There's no better forum for what I do than a music festival. Even the folk festivals, like we did Port Fairy this year as the Welcome Wagon with Tony, and got a great reception. Yeah. You know, and it's pretty stretchy to call us a folk act. Really, it's a rock and roll band, really. You know. Yeah.
But the festivals are a great outlet for independent musicians.
Oh, brilliant, man.
To reach audiences that you may not get otherwise.
You wouldn't get near otherwise, I think. And I think that's why the audiences are there. They're hungry for the music that they find only at festivals too. Because they don't want to go to, you know, they tend to be a little bit older. They don't want to stick to the carpet when they go out, you know. And so they go to festivals for their music.
Fantastic. Dave, it's great to catch up with you again. It's been a while, but
good on you, John.
Nice to speak to you again. And congratulations on the new album. We look forward to that wider distribution. In the meantime, where can people get it?
At the moment, the easiest way is either straight via my website or ring me on the mobile number if you want. That's fine too, but the website's probably the easiest way. www.davesteele.net.
.net, yep.
Or if you're in Melbourne, ring the Basement Discs. In the city.
Oh, they've got it there, have they?
They've got it there.
Fantastic.
And so is the Last Record Store in Collingwood.
Tremendous.
And are you anywhere near Hampton?
Not too far. You're about 20-minute drive.
Okay, well, your listeners might like to know that Hampton Music, I think it's called.
Okay.
Also have copies. I just sent them today.
Tremendous.
All right.
That's great, Dave. Thanks a lot. Thanks for waiting up for us.
John. Good on you, mate.
We'll catch you again soon.
All right, thank you very much.
All the best. Cheers.
Bye now.